Hello and welcome to this video where I'll be explaining how to find chords to put in between the chords that are written on a chord sheet. Our example song is Amazing Grace, and in a previous video I explained how you can play the neighboring chord before you go to the chord you want to go to. In this video I'll be explaining a different rule which will replace the rule about neighboring chords. The new rule basically says that whatever chord you're gonna go to, let's say the song is on a C and it's gonna go to an F, before you play that F, you play the fifth of that chord, which is your destination chord. Your F is your destination chord. So you take the scale of your destination chord and play the fifth of that scale. So F is our destination, and then we'll take the scale of F and get the fifth. I'm gonna use an example for this with the song Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Me is on a G. So the rule says we can play the fifth in the scale of our destination chord. Our destination is on a G. And if we take the scale for G, the scale for G is this one. And if this is our 1, because we're in the scale of G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our 5 is a D, so we'll play a D chord before we play a G chord. That's basically the rule. So that's a D before the G. Like me, or like me, or the D here, like me. Basically what I was playing there was just different inversions of the same D chord going to a G, or another D chord going to a G, or a D chord going to a G. So you can do it anywhere along the keyboard. Just know that the D will take you to a G, and we play a D before we go to a G. And as I explained earlier in an earlier video, sometimes we might be playing the D. We could play the D as a major chord. Sometimes we can play it as a minor chord. Just play it and see which one sounds better at that particular time. And if you notice as well, in the bass, I could play this D, and then I could play, instead of this D, I could play this F sharp, because it's all part of the D chord. Or I could play this A because it is also part of the D chord. So whatever note is part of this D chord, I could play it in my bass. The reason why this one sounds better is it is part of the D chord, which is the fifth of G, and it also is neighboring the G. So you're basically having two rules fulfilled at the same time. So that's basically the rule. Whenever we got a chord, we play the fifth in the scale of that chord we want to go to. So coming back to the first part of the song, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. So the C, we know we're gonna go to an F for how sweet the sound. If we take that F and find the fifth of F, which is in the scale of F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth is a C. So Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. So the rule says play the fifth first before you got the F. But the fifth is a C, and we are already on the C. So it doesn't change anything. However, remember in another video I explained about higher chord extensions and how the C chord can have the seventh played. So instead of playing this normal C before you go to the F, you could play a C and add a major seventh to that C. So that will be this note here. So whenever you got a C going to an F, you can add that seventh note. And as I explained about rootless chords, because you're playing the C over in the left hand, you can take out this C note and just keep it completely. Just play the C chord with the seventh, but skip out the root. So it will be this chord here before you go to an F. So amazing grace, how sweet, how, it's a C chord with a seventh note here, how sweet the sound. So we explained having this seventh note, which is a C going to an F. I explained as well how to have a D before going to a G. We're gonna stretch this a little further, and I want you to listen carefully because this is gonna be a little bit tricky. For the part for that saved a wretch like me, we know we got a G, and we said the fifth of G is a D. That's why we're playing the D before the G. But if we take the D as a destination, although we know it's not the final destination is a G, but for a brief moment the D is a destination. And if we apply the same rule to the D, we know we can play the fifth of D before we go to D. So if we take the scale of D and find the fifth will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth is an A. So we can play an A before we go to the D. And we'll play the D before we go to the G. So we'll put this into context. That say amazing grace, how sweet on an F. That sound back to C. That saved. We're now going to A. That saved. That saved. A wretch going to D. Okay. Sorry, I played the D chord, but I put in more notes than I should have for a tutorial. Okay, that saved, back to A minor, that saved, that's an A minor, and wretch, back to, we're now going to D, that's a D minor, like me, now G. So what I did there, if we go back, we had an A minor, then we had a D minor, then we had a G. So it's the A leading to the D and the D leading to the A. And I had minors for the A, the D, and the G. But I could have majors as well. For example, the save, A wretch, then I'm gonna play A major. Move this note up. A wretch, like me, like I'm gonna play a D major. Me. So see how you can mix the majors and the minors. Before you land on your final destination. We'll take this and stretch it even further. We now know the A leads to the D and the D leads to the G. But what leads to the A? A is our destination for the moment, and if we want to know what leads to the A, we find the fifth of A. Now the fifth of A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the fifth of A is an E. So we know an E is going to lead to an A. So if we take the song Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Then the E leading to the A, third E, saved, A, Wretch, going to the D, wretch, on a D, like me, on G. So basically we have an E, which could be a major, which could be a minor, going to an A, going to a D, going to a G. And when you put this all together into the song, we'll have it as what I'm going to show you up on the screen. So we know the E goes to the A to the G, D to the G. And we know the G goes to the C, because if C is your destination, the fifth of C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a G. So G leads to C all the time. So this is why at the start of a song, instead of saying Amen and starting on a C, you can start on the G going to C. Amen, sing grace. But G is the fifth of C. Then we know the fifth of F is a C, but we can play the seventh of C before we go to an F. Then the sound. So if we put this all together, it will come up as this. Amen. C7. The sound. E to the A. D minor. D major. Like me on a G. G leads to C. C to the seventh, C7, because we're gonna go to an F. Then E to the A, D to the G, then G. So with this lesson, you probably need to go and practice all these different chords, because it's quite tricky at the start, but it's a very, very good rule to use to just take your playing to the next level and know what chords to put in inside a song, because all these chords won't be written on the chord sheet.